it was when that stuff came on the scene, I just naturally gravitated towards it because I liked the way I just liked the aggression back then. You know what I mean? Uh, Playing shows and watching people moshing out there, it was just no words can describe that.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the All Music Matters in That podcast. I'm your host, Brian, and today we'll have a special guest and another fellow Pennsylvanian. It's Mike Schmidt, aka MPSDrummer. How you doing today, brother?
I'm doing great, man. How are you doing today?
Not too bad. And it was a good thing I found you because I think we were doing our metal march, and I think you were taking part of it in it too. And I think when I was seeing some of your covers, I think you were doing more in the range of classic rock and some of the metal ones, even maybe some of the thrash ones. Have you normally dabbled into those guys?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, my forte really is going back to when metal started, like with Metallica, Megadeth, and stuff like that. And even some of the thrash was kind of in my wheelhouse. And I do love the metal, don't get me wrong. But as I kind of matured over time, I kind of moved into other things like classic rock and even like one of the big things I really get into is like Pink Floyd.
Yeah, I think I did say that was your most recent one. And which song was that?
Oh gosh, you know what? I forgot what song it was because I got a couple of them in the works right now. Let me see here. It was.
This does a tab open.
There it is. It is The Show Must Go On.
Was that another Dark Side of the Moon, or is that off a different album?
That was off of The Wall.
The Wall. Okay. Yeah. Anytime I think of Pink Floyd, there was a friend of mine at school who always wore a Dark Side of the Moon t-shirt. It did not matter what day it was. He must have worn that thing to bed and wore it 24/7. So,
That's awesome.
All right. Outside of that, I guess, how you been recently? Mike, what's new?
Not too much, just trying to keep my head above water. And, I've been on vacation this week, so I've been kind of enjoying some downtime. But overall, everything is going great. Speaking of the Pink Floyd, I'm actually in the process of putting together a Pink Floyd tribute. It's something I got involved with when I was in Kansas. I lived out there for about 9-10 years. And it was a great experience for me, especially being a metal drummer. When I seen the opportunity that this band out there was looking for a drummer, I'm like, wow, this is like really what I've been wanting to try. Yeah, so I jumped into it head first, and it was a great experience for me because they were doing things a little different. They weren't doing just like the classic tribute thing. They were actually doing what they called the Floyd Laudation, where they were doing their shows based on the Pink Floyd shows. So like a specific 1973 show in Oakland, they would recreate that entire show and do it as one of their shows. And then, they would change it up, do like a Paul show, another 76 show or something like that. So we were learning their entire shows front to back, which was really interesting for me. And I really enjoyed that. I got to say, I really, really enjoyed that. And we're trying to recreate that here now that I'm back in my home area with some of my close friends down in the Allentown area right now.
Yeah, it's just to fill in the audience. Which part of PA are you hailing from?
I hail from the Pocono region, up northeast.
Yeah, Wilkes-Barre, yeah. Okay, that's all cool. And have you always kind of been a drummer your whole life, or have you kind of always jumped around a little bit with maybe different instruments?
No, it's a good question. I basically got the interest in the drums probably around 73-ish, 1973-ish. My mom had owned an upscale restaurant here in the Poconos back then, and they had like big bands and stuff like that, where they have rock dance bands in. And I was just a little kid at the time, so the one night they had a band in that was more of like a rock band, and I was fascinated by it. And they were going to play the next night, so the entire band left all their stuff on stage, right? So the next morning when I came down to help clean up and stuff, I was like, ooh, there's a drum set up there. So I walked up and just started playing around, put some music on the loudspeakers, and we're just playing around. I was like, wow, this is really cool. I kind of like this. And then lo and behold, the drummer showed up. He was our bread delivery man, and he just happened to show up while I was up there playing on his kit. And he just kind of stood there and was like watching and shaking his head. And I didn't know what to do, just like a little kid, 5, 6, or 6, 7 years old. But he was like, oh, he kind of gave me some encouragement. And he was like, wow, you're doing pretty good. You ever do this before? I'm like, no, but it interests me. And he's like, he was really cool about it, you know, and he would show me some things back there. And he kind of like showed me how to go through Wipeout and stuff like that. So I was like, all right, this is really cool. So I kind of picked it up from there and just ran with it, dude.
At first, were you kind of intimidated at first, or whenever you first saw it there too, it was almost like if he's crossing his arms like this, kind of just doing this.
Yeah.
I was like, I'd be like, okay. Oh. Sorry, I didn't mean to touch your drum set there, man. And it's like, okay.
No, he was really cool. He was really cool about it.
That's good. Do you remember what his name was?
His name was Eli, actually.
Eli. All right. Thank you, Eli, for helping this guy out there too. So did he become sort of a drum teacher, or did he just help you just that night?
Just that one particular time, you know. After that, when he played that night, then their stuff was gone, and I kind of bugged my mom to get me a snare drum, you know, a few months later, and she finally broke down and did get me a snare drum. So I would just sit there and for as long as I could and as fast as I could, you know. And eventually, she did give up and get me a regular kit, a small Pearl kit, and yeah, I mean, I played the crap out of that thing too. And even when I joined the Navy in the early mid 80s, when I got to my ship, they actually allowed me to bring my drums with me. So they had a ship's band, and they already had a drummer and stuff. But when I got there, I was like, oh, wow, I could probably do this a little better than he could. And they were like, well, come on in, sit in. So I was sitting there playing. I think we played Paranoid, actually. So I just jumped behind the kit and I just started going to town. And they're like, you know what? Here, he gave me a stick. He goes, you go ahead and play. So I took it over, and yeah, they let me bring my drums on board. So I had my drums with me all around the world at that point.
Actually, I think you'd be the third midshipman we actually have interviewed on the podcast here. Because
no kidding.
Actually, there's one. I always pronounce it wrong, but C. Stevens, just to make it short, because I think it's like Chan Stevens. I'm sorry, but it's a band name. It's called Asphalt Jungle, and then so there's that one in there too. And recently, Phoenix Falling, aka Nick, he also was in the Navy there too. So
very cool.
I'm trying to figure it out because Nick told me there was like different versions of the salute. It's like this one. Then we made fun with the British one. So
Yep.
It is Memorial Day weekend here too. So we do salute you all and thank you for your service.
Of course.
I guess, what were you doing in the Navy? I guess you didn't see any combat, did you? Were you just kind of traveling and maybe doing some tech work or something?
I actually did get to see a little bit of combat back before Desert Storm hit. This was like about 86. We actually participated in the raid on Libya. Back in 1986, there was 3 ships that crossed that 32nd parallel line. Mine was one of them. And so we seen a little bit of what was going on there. But that was the only combat that I've seen when I was in.
Normally, sometimes you hear about PTSD or anything like that too, I guess. Was there anything that kind of haunts you? I guess for me, maybe just that experience.
You know, it was weird when we were going through that at our GQ quarters. I was listening to Pink Floyd, The Wall, because I just had a son, and I was overseas, and it just kind of resonated with me, right? So I listened to it the whole time we were going through this episode, and oddly enough, when I got back to the States and then discharged out, I couldn't listen to Pink Floyd for like a good year or so because it would bring back memories of what we were going through in Libya, which is weird, right? And then I kind of just worked through it.
I guess you hit a legit wall in this case. So.
Pretty much. It was pretty much that that line in Another Brick in the Wall, where Daddy's gone across the ocean, da 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 da, you know, and then about them dropping the bombs and this and that, the other. It kind of freaked me out a little bit at first, but I came to terms with it after a while, and now, as you can see, I just absolutely love Pink Floyd. So
that's good to hear. So actually, that's painted an odd one there too, but I guess it really was kind of resonate what's going on here in real life. So I'm like, oh my god, these guys were prophets in a way.
No kidding.
I guess so. I guess what do you make of Pink Floyd these days? Because it seems like Roger Waters, or sorry, I'm terrible with the names, but I guess looks like he kind of dug himself his own grave after he kind of made a little post about Ozzy Osbourne. I guess what do you make?
Yeah, I wasn't happy about that either. He's always been a snide, crotchety old person. You know, he has his own views on things, and they're generally askewed. So yeah, I don't dig that at all. But I still enjoy the music that he helped produce. But I want to go see him in concert today.
Not anymore?
No, not even if he gave me the ticket. I don't think I'd go.
So it's that far, huh?
Yeah.
All right. I can say what. So hopefully there's some forgiveness at some point, but I don't know what's going to happen here. So
yeah, I don't either. It's hard to say.
All right. So I guess let's go ahead and talk about MPSDrummer, because I know you talked about a 50-year journey, but I'm assuming it's all your initials and everything there too. But I guess go ahead and talk about your YouTube channel, MPSDrummer.
Yeah, it's my three initials. I figured it'd be a good generic name for the channel, which I started. I started it back seriously in 2024. And the reason being is I was in between bands and I wanted something to do. I wanted to do something. And so I thought, I know all these songs. I know how to play all these songs through all these different genres. And I just wanted to get it out. And I wanted to be able to put something out there for, like, when I do eventually leave the earth, my kids and stuff will have something to remember me by after I'm gone. So it just kind of exploded from there. So I started small, and then next thing you know, I'm posting upwards of 300 videos a year of all these different genres and stuff. Just stuff that I've crossed throughout my lifetime, stuff I may have played in bands, or it may have been part of my practice routine at some point. And there's a bunch that I just decided, you know what, I'm going to take the leap and learn these songs that I've never played before, and let's see how it goes. And that's really where I'm at with it today.
I guess even after leaving the Navy, were you still able to do drums and everything? I don't know if there was any sort of trouble with.
Yeah, no. I was back then. I got into actually some original metal bands, like around 86, 87. There was DNA, which was very comparable to Metallica back in the day, as far as our song structures and what we were singing about and stuff like that. And then after that band, I was in Rabid Bambi for, well, Christ, Rabid Bambi goes back to like 81 when we started, right before I went in the Navy. And then when I got back out, we just picked back up, and we finished up with our last album in 2012. And unfortunately, then our singer guitar player passed away. So we had to put that on, put that away. But it was still some good memories, man. And we played for a long time together throughout a lot of situations, and it was fun.
Let's go talk about some of the bands. So Rabid Bambi, in this case. So whose idea was that?
Rabid Bambi was, it kind of started as a cover project, I guess you could say. Like learning Scorpions and Accept and stuff like that. But then as we matured, we started to write songs, and it was definitely on the heavier side of things. Even the first couple were a little thrashy, even a lot of double bass, a lot of blast beats. And we're just writing about, the times of the day. The last album was called Mankind's Mistakes. and it was kind of touching on how we're destroying ourselves and destroying our world and stuff, and nuclear war could just end life as we know it, and that's kind of what that was all about.
You just strike me, it was more like the Dark Angel when, I guess, Darkness Descends came out in '86 right there. So
yeah, kind of. I would say, yeah.
I know you talked about Metallica and a little bit of Megadeth here too, but were you strictly more of the big four? Or did you also expand to what I jokingly call the other four, which was like Overkill, Testament, Exodus, and try to make sure Death Angel. Yeah. Did you get into those guys too?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I don't just limit myself to the big four. I kind of dig into some of the obscure stuff, and I've been really digging some of your videos, especially you getting in the Deicide and Morbid Angel stuff. Holy crap, dude. That is some amazing shit, dude.
I was up like 2 more hours last night just trying to mess with this one immolation one because I was doing so many parts wrong. But I was just like, I just need the parts so I can at least edit it and just mess around with it afterwards. So, but it was one of those, like, the drums are mimicking what the guitars are doing, sort of legitimately, really. So it's almost like, if we could just do that, then we should be pretty good. So, I guess what'd you make of, I do have to ask, I guess, what'd you make of thrash metal when it first came out? Because let's see, that would have been, I don't know if you would count 82, or I don't know if it's Slayer's Show No Mercy was kind of like the start of it all.
Yeah, it was. And then when SOD came out with Stormtroopers of Death, that took it to another level too. But yeah, I loved it. When it first came on the scene, I was already playing and learning like Black Sabbath, Deep Purple, all those big bands back then, Rainbow. But then when the thrash came on the scene, my eyes just got like really big. I'm like, holy crap, what is this shit? And I got to learn it. So right away, I just dove in. And the first band I recorded with DNA, that's kind of what that was structured on. It was kind of like the thrash stuff from back in that time. I really dug it and got into it. And I just, to this day, I still listen to it, still try to play it. Definitely. I mean, I did a cover band with some guys out in Kansas City too that was more based on like Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer, but then we would do some like Exodus and Testament and stuff like that as well. So yeah, I don't just align myself to the big four. I kind of look at the whole scene. I just love it all. I mean, I even go into some of the darker stuff like Venom and Celtic Frost, bands like that.
I'd say I touched Venom's black metal album a good bit here too, but it's on my podcast channel more, so I got to figure out how to just move it over to the other one pretty soon. Right. But you'll see more Halloween. Trust me, that's when I tend to like to do it too.
Nice. So,
I will say this. I would say it's more like a horror metal when they did Buried Alive. It kind of also leads into Raise the Dead. So that one, I would say, it always makes it enjoyable for some reason. It is almost like a little bit of the horror movie kind of played out in a way.
Yeah, definitely.
So, and I guess talk about some of your journey too after the Navy, but did you come back to PA, and then I guess what was the whole thing with moving out to Kansas? Was it more work related?
Yeah. When I got back out of the Navy, I was back here in my hometown till about 95, I believe it was. And then I just needed a change. So I moved out by Chicago for about 10 years. Got into a cover band that we played all over Chicago for that whole time, which was fun. Ended up back in PA for a little bit, and then had a job opportunity, which brought me out to Kansas City. So took the family and away we went. So the first thing I had to do when I get there was find a band. So I ended up getting into a psychedelic garage rock band that was writing original material and doing some covers, around like the Trogs and really old Pink Floyd, stuff like that. It was really psychedelic stuff. But I wanted to get my feet wet there in Kansas City, and that was the first opportunity I seen. So I jumped on it, and it was a pretty good situation. We played for a few years, did a bunch of shows around Kansas City. But then I had the opportunity for the Pink Floyd. That's when that popped up, and I'm like, I'm gone. I'm out. See you guys later. But the cool thing with that too is the Pink Floyd band out there. The core group of us, about 4 of us, we also did some other stuff. Like we did a Alice in Chains tribute too, at the same time. You can see in the back here, Junkhead. That was a blast, man. We did a lot of really cool shows. Played a couple big festivals, outdoor festivals and stuff. But it was a good group because not only did we do the Alice in Chains, we also did the Creep and Death stuff. So we were doing like a Metallica Megadeth tribute as well. And it was just the core of us doing all of those different things. So it can be busy for a while. But the Pink Floyd, I think the Pink Floyd and the Alice in Chains was probably the bands I had the most fun with out there over that time.
That's all pretty cool. And also, we have to get a shout out to Rich. I forgot Rich also did a little service there too. Rich Raw Dog Drums. So,
yep, I like Rich. Rich is a cool guy.
I guess, how'd you find out about our little community and the drum tubers and all that sort of stuff? I guess, did you just find Rich one day?
Well, it was actually, I found this other guy, John, I think is his name, who was doing these covers, and he had all these different get-ups when he was playing, so we wore different costumes and stuff. I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. So we started talking, and he told me about Rich and Kelly, what they were doing with the challenges throughout the year. And he goes, we just finished up this one, and he goes, Metal March is coming up. Maybe you should jump into that and see what you can do. So I checked it out, talked to Rich, and I got what we needed to do to be able to participate in it. So I jumped into it with both feet. So that's kind of where I met Rich and Kelly, was from that point. And so now we just got through this last one, and I'm looking forward to the punk one coming up. And then I think we're going to do a classic rock later in the year, he said. So it's a nice community, I got to say. A lot of cool people, a lot of really talented musicians across the board. And I'm just having fun. I wasn't even expecting anything like this, but I'm really having fun with it because I get to talk to people like you. I got to meet like Rich. I got to meet Kelly and listen to a bunch of really cool and good musicians do their stuff. Which is inspiring to me too. It still inspires me to see that stuff. And makes me want to play even more. So I like the community, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
Yeah. I always do want to participate, but the thing is, I already had like a whole list of whole bands lined up and everything, as well as songs. So that's probably my fault is more of a consistency schedule, because it used to have one big channel where it was like drum covers and podcast interviews. But now I split it off, so now it's just drum covers and the other channels, podcast interviews, that sort of stuff.
Oh, nice.
But it's like Wednesdays are more strictly for the drum covers in this case. So,
no,
I was going to say, do you follow a more strict schedule, or is it just like, I get the song, or is just going to put it out there for the world? I guess, what's your scheduling like?
No, I try to think ahead of like songs I do want to play for, like, say for next week. I'm already starting to think of what I'm going to do for next week. Getting ready to finish up this week, which I was on vacation, so I didn't do much. But I do have an Alice in Chains cover that I'm finishing up today, and will hopefully get posted later on today. But I guess I do have kind of a schedule, because once I get off work, then have dinner, spend time with the family, then after that, it's my time down here. And I'll be down here till 11, 12 o'clock, sometimes leaving later. And I try to keep to what I had planned to do, but sometimes I get off that track, and I see something or hear something, I'm like, I want to do that. And so I switch it out, and then I have to learn that song. I guess for me, the good thing is it doesn't take me long to learn the new song. Just got to listen to it a few times, find the pattern, and then I can work it out from there, and pretty quick. So I'm able to make those adjustments pretty quickly. But I do try to stick to some sort of schedule the best I can.
Yeah, I was sort of the same way. It was like albums I really want to make sure I cover this year. It was like Immolations, Failures for Gods. There was Deicide, Scars of the Crucifix,
Oh yeah.
Finished Dark Angels, Darkness Descends. So actually, what I also kind of do now, what I call the hell months because of how hot it gets during the summer. So from June to September, right there, we do like a good amount of covers from the death metal sort of world there too, since it's burning calories, that sort of stuff there too. So
definitely.
So I guess maybe kind of go back, I guess, when you first heard like even death metal for that bit, because it seems like you also knew about Deicide, Morbid Angel, those sorts of groups. I guess, what were you like at first? Was it kind of like disgust at first, and then you kind of got into it afterwards because it won you over?
It was more, I think, curiosity that won me over right away. Is just to hear them play that fast, those different patterns, time changes. You know, it fascinated me. It really did. A lot of people that I play with over the years, they kind of like, that doesn't really mean anything. That's not really what you would call music. It's just no. There's a lot that goes into that stuff, and if you can't follow along, you get lost very quick. But I think that's why I like it, is there's so much going on, and even though it seems like chaos, I guess you could say, it does have a resolve at the end, and that's where everything comes together. But I've absolutely loved it. I mean, I've always been a big fan of like Venom, Morbid Angel, Mayhem, Celtic Frost, a lot of those really older dark metal bands from back in the day.
He does have a dark side after all. So.
Yes, he does.
Yeah. I don't know if it was Rabbit Bambi or DNA, but you also mentioned about doing blasphemy and that sort of stuff there too. I guess, were you doing the 1 foot, or were you trying to also get the double foot involved?
Started most, the first album was most with the single foot, they're just a simple thrash beat. And then the second album, I evolved and brought in the double kick in as part of it. That's why I was using both feet. And I took that and I kind of expanded it when we got the Rabbit Bambi. Pretty much the same thing. It was a lot more structured, like I would say like Slayer is, or early Metallica songs. Because that's kind of where our wheelhouse was, and that's what we really loved to play. So we just took that thought process and just ran with it.
Normally when I talk about thrash, it's something like that chugga 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 that'll deal. So even though there might be double bass playing, it's more so that sort of stroke right there. Whereas blast being like the that'll deal.
Yep.
So, I guess in terms of influences here too, I guess I know you talk a good bit about thrash, so I guess is it mostly the Lars Ulrichs, Dave Lombardo's, Charlie Benante, and all those guys?
Yeah, definitely those guys. One of my bigger influence was Bill Ward coming up, Ian Pace from Deep Purple. But then when the metal started coming on the scene, that's when I gravitated towards it. So Lars Ulrich, the Dave Lombardos, the Charlie Benettis, and then even like Testament, Overkill. I'm big fans of them as well. It was when that stuff came on the scene, I just naturally gravitated towards it because I liked the way I just liked the aggression back then. You know what I mean? Playing shows and watching people moshing out there, it was just no words can describe that.
Just lose yourself.
Yeah.
The deal, yeah.
Right.
So I guess have you been to any shows recently? I don't know how many thrash groups or really any metal shows came through your neck of the woods.
We did get to see Slayer this past September in Hershey. That was a really cool show. Probably the 15th time we've seen them. But it was nice because we got to see Exodus too. So Exodus opened for them, Cavalera, Conspiracy, and then Suicidal Tendencies. So it was kind of cool to see Jay Weinberg playing. Then another band, Knock Loose, which I'm not very familiar with. But I got to say, they put on a really good show.
That's a relatively new group. So yeah, out of Tennessee.
Yeah, I thought they were actually pretty good. And then, of course, the Mighty Slayer came on after them. Just phenomenal show.
Was it still Kerry King and Tom Mariah? I thought they were trying to like
Nope.
keep the band apart.
No, it was both of them, Gary Holt, and I'm not sure what the drummer's name is. But yeah, it was a good show, man. They're doing a couple shows again this year. I don't think they're coming over to our side. I think they're going to be mostly on the West Coast. But if they do come, I'm definitely going to go see them again. I think Anthrax is going to be coming around here pretty soon too. So I may try to go see them here in the near future.
Actually, how far is Reading from you guys? Because I know a good amount of people come through Reading there.
About an hour and a half. And I do go down there quite a bit. We just seen Static X early last year down there in Allentown, actually, at some new place he had just created. I guess it replaced the Crocodile Rock. That's not there anymore.
I never really understood Static X actually continuing after Wayne Stack had passed away there too, because now he's just a robot with pretty much, well, we would say maybe a wig, maybe just glued to the top of like Terminator in this case. So
yeah, I think it's just the guy from Dope that's doing it, because they always play together when they do shows. And it was a little weird at first because we've seen Static X many a times in the past. We got to meet Wayne Static a few times. Really cool guy. But I got to say, I think Zero did a pretty good job emulating him in these concerts. And I got to say, they sounded great because they still had the regular guitar player. They had Tony Campos, and they had the original drummer. So they sounded amazing. But it was a little weird.
yeah, and may rest in peace. Take care there, Wayne. So,
Amen.
all right. I guess go talk about the studio here as well as what gear you have. So start with the drum set and then talk about the studio and I guess what do you use for your recording process, putting the drum covers together.
Sure. So I have 4 different kits. So I have the Alesis Strike Pro Special Edition. That's my main kit that I do the videos with because it's easier to work on. I have another lesser. It's the DX2 Alesis, which I started with, and I graduated to this newer one. For my acoustic kits, they're both Tama. So my original one is the Tama Rockstar DX kit from back in the 90s. Amazing sound coming from that kit, even to this day. Love playing on that thing. Played many, many shows with that. And then I just recently got a brand new one that's a Tama Superstar Classic. It's got like the dark indigo burst on the ends of the drums that fade into the center of it. Maple shells, beautiful sound. Just got all new Meinl cymbals to go with it. Beautiful sound. I can't wait to get this out and start doing some shows with it. Now, as far as what I use Moises first off to take and separate the songs out so I can pull out the drums. I use Sonar as my DAW. So I break it apart in Moises, put it over to my other computer, put it into Sonar, put all the tracks in. Then what I do is I'll record it through that. So my Alesis kit flies into the DAW through my interface. And then once I get it recorded, I'm also using GoPros. I do have a couple. I've been just lately using the ones for the overhead view, but I'm getting ready to do some remodeling down here. So I'm going to eventually get that changed around. I'm going to get that multiple view here shortly. But what I do to finish it is once I get it recorded over on that side of the house, I bring it over to my main computer, which is where I'm at right now. And that's where I do all the mixing and put it together, the audio piece. Once I get the audio done, then I use DaVinci Resolve for my video edits. Works really good for a free program, to tell you the truth. It's very, very robust. So that's what I use to put everything together, do all the splicing. If I have multiple videos, I can put everything together in there and do a final mix down of it on the video. And then that's when I'm ready to post it up to YouTube at that point.
That's definitely new with the whole DaVinci Resolve. I know a couple times people have mentioned it, but it seems like it's mainly meant to be a starting point, and then they upgrade to somebody else, because I use Final Cut Pro to put my drum covers together and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask about electronic drum sets, I guess, but were you going to say something real quick? I didn't mean to interrupt.
Mm-mm.
Okay. I guess once you first start getting into electronic drum sets, and I guess do you try to use them at all with the recording process?
Well, for a long time, I didn't like electric kits at all. The sound and response off them just was terrible. So I didn't even really look at them for many years. It wasn't until just probably when COVID hit and I had some free time, and I thought, there's got to be a better way to practice without blowing my hearing out constantly. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to check into this. So I got that first DX2 Elisa's kit, and I'm like, I had the mesh heads and stuff. I'm like, all right, I could kind of get it. The feel's pretty good, but the sound, the dynamics and stuff still wasn't there for me. So that's why I upgraded to the newer kit. And I'm like, damn, what a difference. But to be honest with you, it took me probably the better part of a year to get it dialed in completely. Get that feel to work for all the different cymbals and all the different drums. So when you're hitting one, you're not triggering another one. There was just a lot to it to get it fine-tuned to where I was comfortable with it. Now that's what I use to do all my recording, but I'm going to switch over to my acoustic kit once I finish this remodel, and then I will get that mic'd up, and I will probably start using that to do my videos. But for now, this E-kit's doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, actually, it started with me with Rock Band, because that was when they actually did the drum set with just like the 4 colors in this case. Well, 5 if you count the kick drum being orange.
Yep.
So that's how it started. So you could say that was the first introduction to an electronic drum set in that case.
Nice.
So, but obviously, the kid you saw, probably my drum videos there, it actually started with a beginner kit, and it was a Roland TD25K. And that one you got over there now is a Roland VAD 706. So,
yeah. Dude, it sounds awesome too, and looks like the feel on it's pretty good too.
It took a little bit, and actually, I had to get used to trying to use splash cymbals now, because actually a friend of mine gave it to me. So now, unfortunately, you get an addition to the set, and I had trouble with this one song from Malaysia because it utilized a good bit of the splash,
right,
like this one section. So that's like I have to force myself to hit that cymbal at this particular time. So,
that's good.
Actually, even your sets, and even maybe now, I guess, do you have a whole variety of the cymbals, like the real small ones, the real splashes, and then your typical crashes and rides and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, when I got the new Minol cymbals, I have a couple of the trash splashes, the stacks. I got 2 stacks, 3 different splash sizes. So yeah, I got them set up, just so I can hit them quick if I need to over by the hi-hat over here, over by the ride over here, and stuff. So I do use a wide variety of effect cymbals like that. Yep.
That's all pretty cool. So, I do want to ask about maybe like what your goals are for this year, but first I want to also touch on COVID, because I know you talked about it right there. So, I guess go ahead, tell us your story about how bad COVID was for you when it hit in 2020. I guess, were you in Pennsylvania at the time, and I guess what were you doing?
No, at the time we were living up in Rhode Island. We just moved back to the east from Kansas, so my wife's from the New England area, so we decided to go up there and give it a shot. And I was playing with a band out of Massachusetts, so we were practicing in Taunton, Mass. There was a building where they rented out studio spaces for you to practice in. So, we set our stuff up there, stayed there. That's when COVID hit, and obviously at that point we knew we weren't going to be playing any shows anytime soon. So the majority of the band kind of just dispersed and went on their way, because there was really no point in their mind. And I'm like, shit, what am I going to do? So I stayed in touch with the one guitar player, and then we would get together once in a while, but nothing serious. It just seemed to kind of take the wind out of everybody's sails at the time. And for me, I almost started panicking because I'm like, oh crap, am I ever going to play any other shows ever? What's this going to do? Yeah, I know. I was like, oh, shit. So that's when I got that first electric kit, and I'm like, I'm just gonna start working on this at home, and I'll come up with something. And then that's when I kind of fell into the YouTube stuff, and I'm like, you know what? I've enjoyed watching other people do it. Maybe I should do it too. And that's kind of what led me to it.
I guess were you and the family okay? I'm not too sure if you guys got impacted by COVID, either financially or even job wise.
No, luckily for me, with my job, I work remotely 100%. So I don't have to worry about that. I never stopped working over COVID, so I was good there. But it did have an effect on the music scene, so we didn't do any shows for many years. And honestly, it wasn't until we moved up to Maine a couple years later where I hooked up with a band out of New Hampshire. They were called Elger P. Sloan, and they were what you called super groovy werewolf rock music. So it didn't really straddle any particular genre, so to speak. It was kind of their own. So they were a great bunch of guys. I mean, I joined them, and within a couple months we were playing our first show, and then I was like, all right, we're playing shows again. This is good. But then I got into the music scene up there for a couple years, and man, I tell you what, that music scene up there in New Hampshire is awesome. Great bunch of bands to play with. So I'll give a quick shout out to Diamond Edge. They're one of the hardest working bands up there in the New England area. Burn Permit, amazing bunch of guys to jam with. They are amazing. And then Superbug. So played a lot of shows, multiple band shows with these guys over the couple of years we were up there. And I got to say, I really, really enjoyed that. And that was 100% original. We didn't do any covers. And it went over very well, which is hard to do. But I think the scene up there kind of played into it as well. You know what I mean? We always had good turnouts no matter where we played. And it's like everybody knew everybody up there. And you never played a show with just one other band. It was usually with 3, 4, maybe five different bands. And it was just a great experience, man, all the way around. But then we decided to come back here. So we've been back here in PA since 2024 now. So we've been here for just a little over 2 years. And now I'm just getting ready, like we were talking about earlier, getting ready to start with this Pink Floyd tribute and see where it goes.
It's sort of like, in the end, I ended up right back where I started.
Yep, so, exactly.
Pretty much. Do you still stay in touch with all the bands from New Hampshire there and even Maine, Rhode Island area?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we stay in touch. They're doing pretty good up there, and it's good to see them still playing shows together and having fun. So
that's good to hear. And yeah. Good to see the family are doing safe and kicking some major ass out there of all the bands and even a YouTube channel they made.
Yep, so, absolutely.
I know you touched on the music scene with what you were kind of doing during COVID there too, but I guess from your experience playing in all the different kind of states right here too, I guess I was trying to maybe not think it's like crazy or anything like that because metal tends to be sort of violent in the mosh right there at times. But I guess from your experience, I guess which I guess even the scene do you kind of remember the most? Kind of more your ones out there in Kansas, in the Kansas City area there too?
Well, each scene was a little bit different and a little bit unique in its own right. The Kansas City scene, it was good. It was really good for the music that we were doing. Now, if we were a metal band out there, I don't think it would have done near as well. But like the Pink Floyd, Alice in Chains, that went over really well. Always had big crowds out there. No issues with it. Now, back here, the scene's expanded quite a bit since I've been gone from here. So there was one band here in particular, Last Call Beautiful. They're pretty big around. They play a lot of shows. I've also been talking with them to see, they were talking about doing a Limp Bizkit tribute on the side. And I know they're busy right now because they just got a new singer that they're brought up to speed. But I may pursue that with them later in the year too, to do a couple shows, do some Limp Bizkit songs. But to say which, I can't really say if any one region's better than the other. They're all kind of unique and kind of fun. But I would say for me, it was probably up in New England, if I had to put a finger on it. From Massachusetts up and through New Hampshire, it was a pretty good scene. Always had good turnouts, and all the bands that I played with up there or played along with were always pretty cool. Nobody had big egos, and even if the band playing last, if you were better than they would, they'd come up and tell you, you guys were awesome. You know what I mean? So it wasn't just like, I thought it was pretty good up there.
I'd say everyone just moved to New Hampshire and Massachusetts. Everyone's a lot more cooler up there.
There you go.
Actually, I have interviewed a good couple of bands out of Massachusetts right there. So I think it was Nameless, Neurotic, just to name a couple right there. And I'm probably missing some. I think one, unfortunately, disbanded. I think it was Cujo CT. Actually, they were out of Connecticut there.
Right,
so,
right.
But I guess some of the bands you were talking about there, the New Hampshire, Maine area, I guess, was it closer to some of the cities? Or I guess even some of the towns had some nice turnouts too?
Yeah, the shows that we played in around the Boston area were always really good to get a really big turnout. Up in New Hampshire, there would usually be good turnouts. Even if it was like in a small venue, it would be packed. And especially if you had the same like 3, 4, 5 bands on the bill, everybody always come out to see them. And we would generally switch up the order of the bands too. So like sometimes we play first, sometimes we play in the middle of the pack, sometimes we play last and close the show. Everybody just took turns, which was pretty cool about it. So not one band like dominated all the other bands. We all worked together collectively to make it, make music for everybody.
That's good thinking. So keep going strong, boys. Thank you for all that you do out there, boys. Okay. So I guess judging by some of your thumbnails, I guess you kind of use a little bit of AI to kind of make that work there too. But
yes.
I guess, what do you make of AI and even social media these days? You see some of its worth, or do you think it's a little bit of a double-edged sword going on there?
Well, I think with the social media, it's a little bit of a double-edged sword. But if you use it in the right manner for what you're intending it to be, I think it works out for anybody that wants to get on it. You know what I mean? Just leave politics out of it, basically. You know what I mean? AI is interesting because we're starting to adopt that where I work. We're starting to use it every day, and some of the things that we work through, like writing code and stuff like that, this really is starting to help in that aspect. And using it for what we're doing here on YouTube, I'm finding I'm getting better titles, better descriptions from the AI. Like I use ChatGPT. The thumbnails, you can just give it a description and it'll spit it out. It's generally pretty close to what you want. Maybe it could be a little bit better on the imagery of the person, because it doesn't always make you look like you.
And maybe it looks skinnier. So yeah, that'll do.
Exactly. But I think overall, from what I've seen, starting to use AI in my videos, like my SEO content, everything's gotten a lot better. I'm getting a lot more views now. Before I was getting like a score of 40 or so on my SEO content. Now I'm getting 100%. It's giving me good keywords and tags to use. So that score is going up as well. So it seems like I'm able to get in front of more people that way. So in that aspect, I think it's working out really good. But I think, like you said in the beginning, it is a double-edged sword because eventually, people are going to be phased out in some of their work because of AI. And I've already seen that starting to happen. Um, but even with anything, you still need human interaction with it because it's not right 100% of the time. And until it gets to that point, which, yeah, will we ever get there? Maybe. I don't know. But it still needs human interaction to verify it. And yeah, we don't use it 100% and say, okay, we write the code and we put it in and we're done with it. We go through it, we scrutinize it, make sure it's going to work. If there's any issues, blah, blah, all that good stuff. So it's kind of good on one hand, but maybe not so good on the other hand.
I see it back then for some of the bands you were a part of. I guess, did you guys turn to actual artists to maybe design your album covers? And do you want to give a shout out to them if you know they're still around?
Actually, it was the guy for Rabbit Bambi was Sam Carl, but unfortunately, he's the one who passed away. So rest in peace, Sam. He did our artwork, and then I don't remember the name of the guy that did stuff for DNA. That was a long time ago. I'm not even sure if they're around anymore, to tell you the truth. But now with the AI stuff, we can do that so easily. We don't need to go out to these other people, third parties and stuff like that. But at the same time, I kind of miss interacting with some of those people too, because you get their thoughts, you give them an idea and they can come back with a completely different thought than what you had. And maybe you'll like it or not, maybe you'll like it better. Maybe you won't. So
the name, I think it was Seagraff, or I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right there too, but it was the guy who also did Morbid Angels, Altars of Madness covers, as well as Dismember Like an Ever Flowing Stream. That's their stuff right there too. So it's like, damn, man, that's awesome. That whole sort of stuff there too.
Yeah, no, I was always a big fan of like Pusshead back in the day. All the stuff he did for Metallica. That's kind of where I tend to lean towards, is that type of imagery.
It looks like the electric chair when it always looked like I always was looking for a mic at first right there too when it's on Ride the Lightning. So I mean, it had that look at first, but then it's like, oh wait, it's an electric chair, that whole deal. So, yep. Or in fact, you had the hammer. It's just a little blood stain right there. The whole kill them all sort of thing going on there too.
I know, right?
So actually, I do have to ask, for SOD, was it the song Milk that kind of interested you? Because that was when Charlie Benante inadvertently created the gravity blast, as they call it. Yep,
absolutely. That whole album actually opened my eyes to a lot of that stuff. But you're right. That's when Charlie kind of introduced it to everybody, those gravity beats. And then everybody just started doing it from that point on. But yeah, that was a big album for me. I mean, I got to tell you, because I've seen Anthrax back on the Among the Living tour. And then when I got that SOD album, I was like, holy shit, dude. It was just crazy. And it took Anthrax to like a whole different level to me, basically.
And I mean, all they had was just some spare time just to create these songs that varied in length, but it was just some spare time they had in the studio. So that's all it took.
That's what was funny about it is, you had songs that were maybe a couple minutes long to just a couple seconds, just to fill time. And then they spilled that over in the MOD, which pretty much followed the same suit. So that first MOD album was pretty good too. I really enjoyed that. I think I wore out a couple cassettes of that one back in the day.
I think what was funny about the Gravity Blast when he first did it was just a simple drum roll at first. Maybe just, I thought it was drum roll and then it was just one time, and bass drum was like, just for the whole beat right there too, yeah. and then just for the cymbals there too, just to keep it going. Yeah. Then afterwards, everyone just kept expanding there too. Now it was the double bass, and then maybe surprisingly now you can see people doing it with the one hand. The whole Gravity Blast deal, just kind of real light on the side right there too of the snare. So
yep.
Like I said, do you ever experiment trying to do Gravity Blast or anything? Maybe just to mess around with it.
I do mess around with it. It may pop up in some of my YouTube videos here and there. But I'm getting a little bit older now, so it's starting to play like that. It's a little bit harder. I can still do some of it, but it's a hell of a workout. I'll say that much. But watching people like you play some of that stuff, dude, that's awesome. I enjoy seeing the others doing it too and keeping it alive. So keep on rocking, man.
I don't know about Gravity Blast. That seems a bit out of my wheelhouse. So, but I can do some of the blast beat, but it really, I don't like it when it's like excessive, to say the least. Normally, I can do like 20 seconds maybe at most, but if it's longer than that, it's like, oh geez, I'm losing it. That whole deal.
No, I just mostly do it for practice and exercise, just to keep limber and loose. But yeah, not to say, I may go back and start to play around with it a little bit more. I don't want to lose my roots to my metal for sure. Even though I get into the Pink Floyd and stuff, I definitely still have a connection back to the metal world, and I definitely want to keep that. So I think I will continue with it.
All right, leave it up to you then, mate. So I guess maybe just for the last question before we jump into some extra fun ones, is there something you hope to achieve with your YouTube channel outside of legacy and that sort of stuff?
I think legacy is the main thing for me, but I also like to get, to a certain level of subscribers and viewers and stuff like that. I don't know if hitting 1 million's reasonable or not, but I would like to get somewhere within that realm at some point in my journeys here. And the wife and I are actually thinking of different things we can do too together, instead of just like the music stuff. We do like to go and geocache. So maybe we were thinking about putting some YouTube videos together on what that's all about, and actually going out and finding some, so maybe that's something we'll start up this summer. I'm not sure. But right now I'm concentrating more on music. And actually, even beyond just the covers that we're doing, I'm going back to some of my older albums, like we were talking about earlier, like DNA and Rabbit Bambi, and I'm starting to remix them and put new drums to them. All those, the DNA stuff was all recorded in analog back in 86, 87. So we have the 2-inch masters and the 1/4-inch, the 2-inch raw with the 1/4-inch mastered. That tends to degrade over time. So I'm trying to get it all digitized now, remix it, and then I'm going to repost some of those up on YouTube as well. So they'll be my original mixes, but redone. And I'm going to add some updated drums to them and see how they come out. So I'm going to be posting some of those over the summer this year.
Normally when they say remastered, it's almost like, oh God, not the remastered version. That whole deal.
Well,
actually, you know what ended up like Megadeth? That's the whole thing. I think that's what happened with Rust in Peace, to be honest. They lost the originals, and now they stuck with the remasters now.
Yeah, and I love the originals on it. Definitely did. But no, I mean, for our case, with it being all analog, you're losing that degradation. So I am trying to get it digitized. And then while I'm doing that, I'm keeping the original part of it, but I'm going to put some new stuff to it to see, like maybe I'm thinking now, maybe I would have put double bass in this part if I would have thought a little longer about it or something, So I'm just kind of toying with it right now because, well, it's my music and I can do that. So we'll see how it comes out.
All right, sounds good. In which case, good luck there, good soldier. Right. Hey, Mike. So based for questions, you're pretty good. So here, let's jump to some extra fun ones. Ready?
Sure.
All right. So first off, I'm curious if there's a particular dish I've not heard about yet, but I guess what would you consider your favorite food?
Ooh, I am definitely a pizza junkie. I love pizza. And here where I live, my hometown, you can't throw a stone and not hit a pizza joint around here. They're everywhere. And you have quite a variety. So you have the New York style pizza. You can get a big slice, fold it, and just chop it. You have the bakeries around here. There's 2 bakeries in town that actually sell flat sheets of pizza, which is awesome. Just amazing. And it's cheap. So for me, pizza.
It's almost like trying to find a needle in a haystack in this case. Be like, Mike, I don't know where you're at. There's too many Italians around here, man. Which one's you? So,
Yep.
I would say, is Italian in your blood there too, or you just happen to love Italian food?
Just love the Italian food.
Thank God for the Italians. So,
Yep.
Actually, you don't do pineapple on pizza, do you? Or is that just a guilty pleasure?
Maybe once in a great while we'll have a Hawaiian pizza, but not very often.
All right. Technically, I don't see much of a point. I'm pretty much a carnivore, and occasional sometimes we get like the mushrooms, or it's called a deluxe with the ones that we have out here. It has a mixed variety of the meats and veggies.
Yep.
So yeah, but there is always a variety of pizza joints wherever you go out here in the Berg. So
I know, right? Yeah.
And also want to give a shout out to some of the friends of mine I also interviewed out of the Eastern PA region there too. But I can't name them all because unfortunately the names kind of escape me. But I know about Nameless Hates, Stillcraft, a couple I've interviewed. There was John Hoff and Chris Lapuka, also a drummer in our community as well.
Nice.
So, all right. So for the next one, not sure if you drink, but if you do you have a favorite alcoholic drink? And then what's your favorite non-alcoholic drink?
Well, for me, when I used to drink when I was in the Navy, which, believe me, you drink like a sailor, I could tell you some stories. My drink was tequila. I love tequila, straight up. But now that I don't drink very much at all anymore, my drink of choice is a nice cold glass of iced tea.
Was it a particular brand of tequila? Because I know there's always different ones, but I don't know.
Oh, man, back in the day, I was drinking like the Mezcal and the Jose Cuervo. But as I got on, I enjoy more like the Cabo Wabo. And there's a couple of other big ones. I just got a bottle that I probably won't drink from a subcontractor I was working with. And it's like a $170 bottle of tequila, like a 50-year reserve, something like that. But yeah, tequila was my definitely choice, and whew, man, I can tell you some horror stories on that.
He was a different man back then. So
very much.
You know, it's funny with the Cabo Wabo because for the Philadelphia audience there too, that was Sammy Hagar's drink. I guess after they had done the song on OU 812 album, I think they finally decided to make a brand out of that.
Yep.
To say the least. So I guess how would you describe the taste of it though too? Because I know it's been around a good while.
The Cabo is, for me, I would say it's a really smooth. It's not. It doesn't give you that like heartburn aftertaste like some of your cheaper tequila would, like your Jose Cuervo and stuff like that. But even his new brand, the Santos, he sold the Cabo off, so he's got another one out called Santos, which is even better than the Cabo, in my opinion.
All right, but it's still good to see Sammy's going strong out there too.
Yes,
and, I think he's with Guy Ferrari right now, so
is
not too sure. I don't know what the boys are up to, but they seem to be doing something in the we'll call it entertainment world because they seem to lump food, movies, and all that sort of stuff into entertainment, that sort of stuff.
Interesting.
That all sort of stuff. All right. But I guess speaking of movies, I guess you got a particular favorite movie and TV show got dig recently, or guys still like these days, despite how old they are?
I think probably my favorite movie of all time is the Heavy Metal motion picture. It came out in 1981. The soundtrack to that's just off the charts great. And that was the year I started driving. I got my license. So I got my license the month it came out to drive in. So that was the first place I went when I got my license, was to go see Heavy Metal. Fell in love with the movie, and the soundtrack, like I said, is just amazing. That used to be part of my practice routine, where I just throw the whole soundtrack on and play front to back all the way through. I'd say that's probably my favorite movie. As far as TV shows, I don't know. We've been getting more into these game shows like 99 to Beat or the 1% Club or The Floor. They're kind of fun to watch. And beyond that, really, we like to watch more like documentaries on like Egypt, the ancient world, stuff like that. Just get kind of lost in knowledge for a little bit and think of what was, stuff like that.
It was made it sound like it was a Spinal Tap movie. The way you guys described the heavy metal documentaries. So that's always what it seemed like. So all right, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yes. The reason I kept thinking like the whole thing with the age thing, I've now seen posts for like Breaking Bad, which was back from the early 2000s there, maybe late 2000s, because I think it ended like 2013 or something. But it's always like, I liked Walter White when I first watched it. Now I hate him when I watch it the second or third time.
I know, right? I know, that's crazy. We watched the whole thing too, and it was a little weird. Yeah, now you watch it and you're like, you kind of know what's coming, so you don't like him because you know what he's doing in the series. And the one thing that we just watched recently was Orange is the New Black. So my wife watched the whole series, and I would catch bits and pieces of it. And finally, I sat down one time, started from the beginning, and started working my way through it. I'm like, holy crap, this is actually a pretty good show. But we got through the series, and we're not watching it anymore. So now we're more onto those game shows and documentaries and stuff like that.
It was like one time was bad enough. Let's just not do that again.
Right.
Yeah. But I will say for Breaking Bad, like the last 3 episodes, I could see why they call it the greatest show of all time. So,
yeah, it was a good show. Definitely.
I mean, my heart was pounding after the third to last episode, we should say. So, all right.
Yep.
So, all right. I guess in terms of the last question right here for the fun ones, I guess we've been listening to a good bit recently, whether they're mainstream or independent artists.
Ooh, tough one. I would say probably Pink Floyd. No surprise there, right?
We still support Roger Waters, even still, unfortunately. Indirectly, we should say.
Indirectly, yes.
Indirectly, yes.
Yep. Yeah, I would say definitely Pink Floyd. I mean, you can throw on like a Pulse show or any other shows like that and just drift off. So,
as is more so just so you could study how to do another drum cover from Pink Floyd, or I don't know who else you've been listening to. Maybe just be like, I'm going to cover this group next. I know you did like Metal Church or something.
Well, the thing is, I've played a lot of that music over the years, and so for me, it's just like, it's more of like, how do I feel that day, or what kind of day did I have that led me to this point? And if I'm playing something aggressive, like some Slayer or something like that, you can probably bet it was a pretty tough day. But then again, sometimes when I've had good days too, I'll still feel the same. I'll be like, all right, I got to get this out of my system. Let's do some of this. Or if you had just one of those miserable days, you kind of want to get something that's just going to like let you escape for a little while. And so that's when like Pink Floyd or like Porcupine Tree or Riverside or OTAP or any of those type, even Dream Theater, you get lost in that really long song. Yeah. And I'm going to be working on some Dream Theater here pretty soon too.
Actually, if you do check out my channel, which is just under my name, Bryan Gribbin, actually, you'll find a good amount of drum covers there. I did for a good while. One was Dream Theater's Pull Me Under.
Nice.
And I did do Slayer's Hello Waits. I actually did that whole album. Individual drum covers. So,
dude, that's awesome. That's like my favorite Slayer album.
It started to appeal to me too. So, yeah. And then I would say, unfortunately, I still don't think it outpaces or Little does better than Rain and Blood. But it's one of those, they just kept getting better since Show No Mercy. That's an order deal.
Yep.
So
I agree.
All right. That's all cool and everything. And oh, wait, I did want to, this one's kind of a fun one, but it still kind of tells into Pink Floyd. Did you ever, it was the whole thing with the Wizard of Oz thing. It's like if you start, I think it was Dark Side of the Moon. I think that's what album it was. If you start Dark Side of the Moon, right as it does the introduction and all that sort of stuff with the whole lion roar in the beginning there.
Yep.
Like if you start right at that moment, the whole album lines up with what's going on in the movie. Did you ever try that?
It does. Yep, I've done that, and it's mostly subjective, but it really does fit what's going on the screen, which is kind of weird. And another little bit of information for you on that: the Artemis crew that just went around the moon, when they went to the backside of the moon, the dark side of the moon, and were out of contact, they were out of contact for the same amount of time that the album, how long the album is. Exactly to the second. Go figure.
Coincidence?
Possibly.
I mean, I don't know. That is so weird.
It is.
Yeah, at the same time, the guy who actually did something like that introduced us to it, you think, like, how much time did this guy have on his hands to just literally sit down and start Pink Floyd's album right then and just watch Wizard of Oz the whole way through?
Yeah, and to be honest with you, when I first heard about that years ago, my first thought was, why in the hell would Pink Floyd write an album around an old movie from the 30s? Come on. But it just happened to be a coincidence. I don't know. Maybe they happened to watch that movie at some point when they were writing that album, and it just kind of came through in their subconscious. It's hard to say.
I mean, hey, people were probably doing a good amount of drugs back then, so maybe it was just one of those psychedelic experiences. So,
there you go.
I know you mentioned psychedelic experiences too, or bands you've been a part of who were considered psychedelic. So not sure what was involved back then too. So
back in the day, maybe not so much anymore.
Mike, what'd you do?
Oh, you know, same things back in the day that everybody was doing. Just needed to know when enough was enough, I guess you could say.
Fair enough. All right. All right. So, Mike, we're down to one more question for my podcast. I guess before we jump into it, would you like to ask me anything real quick?
Well, yeah, since you were asking me about music and drums, what got you into it and how'd you get started doing this?
There's kind of two questions. You asked about the podcast, and then also I got into doing drum covers, that sort of stuff.
Drum covers.
For the drums, as I mentioned earlier, it was the whole thing with Rock Band, because I first started with Guitar Hero because everyone wants to pretend like they're Slash or those sort of classic rock guitarists, that sort of stuff there too. But when Rock Band came out, they were the first ones that kind of introduced like the full band set: a drum, guitar, vocalist, bassist, later on a keyboarder. I got hooked on drums. I don't know how it was. Maybe it was just something I just wanted to try because I wanted to master it all because I got maybe bored with guitar. So I ended up doing drums, worked my way up through the easy to expert on most of the songs, because when you get to the expert ones, that's when they start to get a little bit more metal, or there's a lot more going on than there probably should be.
Right.
But I ended up getting so hooked on drums that my parents asked me, like, do you want your own drum set? So that's how I said I started with the beginner set, and I ended up with eventually to the set I got to now. I've just been going ever since, but it was actually COVID where it started with the drum covers, because that's how I got into YouTube, was doing drum covers, which was both throwers, no guts, no glory.
Oh, dude, I love seeing the covers you were doing from Bolt Thrower. That's just amazing, dude.
You know, they're not the hardest ones. They do have a little bit of tricky spots when it comes to the fills and that sort of stuff, but it's one of the ones you could definitely enjoy while still playing metal, and in some cases fast, depending on where you're looking at. So,
right on, man.
I forget how long Martin Kearns, but he had passed away, and then that's how the band broke up, and they've never since decided to reform or anything like that. So it's kind of a bummer.
Yeah. But
it was actually Andrew Whale, I think it was, on Fourth Crusade, and I forget who the drummer was with Mercenary. I have to probably look that one up, because I know Andy Whale was actually part of the group for a little bit on a couple of the albums. So
right.
You also tend to notice the pattern when the drummers, when both throwers starts to get through it. So it's like, okay, I'm used to this, and I can still do it. So.
Very cool, man.
And speaking of which, the both throwers, this whole month is all both thrower drum covers. So you'll like the one. Oh, you'll like the one. Actually, I will say you'll like the one on Memorial Day for Victory.
Oh, Nice. Looking forward to it, man.
All right. So stay tuned for that one.
All right.
There's my story. Hopefully that answers it all, but I guess do you have anything else?
No, that was good. No, I appreciate it.
Okay. If there's nothing else, we'll go ahead and jump into the last question. Unless, was there anything else? I wasn't sure.
No, I think I'm good.
Okay. So here's how I'll phrase the last question. So given the amount of negativity you haven't seen going on in the world these days, I know we talked about politics and social media there earlier, but these days I feel like people need some sort of hope. So what would be your message of hope for musicians and people out there so they can move forward with their lives?
I say for musicians, just keep playing, keep practicing, never giving up. Always set goals for you to attain. Don't become complacent in what you're doing. Always keep going, and you'll see that it'll take you pretty far. That's always worked good for me anyway. As far as the negativity and stuff in the world, I think my suggestion would be for everybody to just be good to everybody else. We're all here for a very short period of time on this rock spinning around the sun. Why do we want to make it negative for certain people? I think everybody should be good to everybody, and not one person's idea should be considered right or wrong. And definitely stay out of politics. But no, I think everybody just needs to be good to each other and treat each other with the respect that they would want to be treated with as well. And if we can do that, maybe we can get ourselves back on track. Who knows?
In that case, spoke like a true prodigy. So,
Right.
else we could also say Mike Schmidt for president. So,
Gosh, I don't know. Nope. Don't want it.
actually, no, I was saying back to the Glenn Benton logo he had. It was on their album Till Death Do Us Part, where he had, I think it was on certain albums there too, but it was basically him, and it was at Glenn Benton for president. So, sort of running gag going there too, but that's probably what we should do there.
Yep, I hear you.
All right. But nonetheless, thank you so much, Mike, for sharing there too. It really does mean a lot. So,
Well, thanks, Brian, for having me. I appreciate it. And it was, I really enjoyed the interview. So thank you.
no worries. I guess, have you done any in the past, or was this technically your first one you ever done by yourself or without a band?
This is my first one without a band, by myself. Yeah.
All right. So please cross that off your list there too. So, all right. Just real quick, would you like to give any shout outs to anybody real quick?
Let's see. Yeah, definitely. Shout out to my buddy down in Allentown who's working with me on this Pink Floyd. His name's Mike Burns. So we call him Mr. Burns.
Ken Burns.
And I think I'll put a shout out to my wife too, Tracy, who's always stood behind me. She's always helped me as a rodeo. Even when I was playing shows, she'd help carry stuff in, carry stuff out. She's been with me pretty much every step of the way. So for that, I'll give a shout out to my lovely wife, Tracy.
Love you, babe. So I was hearing that, but all right, it's all good.
Yeah, it's all good.
All right. And I guess just real quick, what's social media? And normally I ask for streaming platforms because I've been interviewing bands, but can they check out your music anywhere? Or I don't know if you have it on any of the streaming platforms or anything.
I have a lot of it up on YouTube here, but I do have some stuff up on Spotify for our Pink Floyd tribute in Kansas City. So if you searched for Wish They Were Here, you'll see a 3-song demo sampler that we put out for our Division Bell show that we played out in Kansas City. So that's still out there. I'm working on the original stuff that we were talking about earlier. So it's discoverable right now, but I'm not really promoting it until I get some more content into it. But once I do, I think I'll start to promote that more. And also what I'm starting to do too is put out drum covers with just the isolated drums and a click track. So other musicians, if they wanted to play along, they could pull it out and play along with it. Just started that piece of it. So I'm going to probably expand on that a little bit. And I kind of feel it out. Right now I'm just doing the isolated drums with a click. But if somebody wants like maybe the isolated drums with like the bass and the click, so the guitar players can play along, or if the bass players want like a guitar in there so they can play along, let me know in the comments, and I will make adjustments. But yeah, that's my latest thing that I'm working on right now.
And lastly, do you have any dates, I guess, where you're going to be playing live yet? I don't know, anywhere in Eastern PA here or somewhere in the States?
The goal with the Pink Floyd is to be out and ready to play by midsummer to late summer. So we still have a little bit of work to do with that one. On the Limp Bizkit tribute, maybe around November-ish. We're still kind of working out some details there.
All right. In which case, to be continued in that case. But
to be continued.
Keep your eyes peeled, whatever. When he posts it up on the socials there too. But all right. So we have to close it like this. So everyone, my guest today was Mike Schmidt from up there in Eastern PA. Which is a northeastern PA in this case. So he's actually MPSDrummer, so you can check him out on YouTube, as well as check him out on socials and see what he's up to with all of the cover tribute bands he's being a part of right here too. So, all right. So go support this guy here too. And Mike, thank you again so much for what you've done throughout your life here too in the music scene, as well as in the Navy there too, as we also approach Memorial Day. So, final salute.
Thank you, sir.
No worries. And stay safe. Rock God. Lastly, strike a pose for everybody. Stay tuned, yo.
All right.
No, wait, hold it. 3 seconds. 3 seconds.